On today's episode of Pathmonk Presents, I've got a very special guest with me today. Please welcome Ines Benson. So for all of you who don't know, Inez is an MIT innovator, heavily product-oriented and storytelling writer, and pretty much she is the head of marketing for Synapse. So for all of you who don't know, Synapse employs state-of-the-art methodology, and what they do is they enable us to discover top talent regardless of industry or location, and help clients for all of their needs and necessities. Inez, it's an honor to have you here today. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. So for all of our listeners out there, tell us what your company does and, what are the problems they solve for their clients and, what industry you guys cater to overall.
I've always worked with software as a service. This is the first time that I'm working in a heavily service-based company. And what we do is we hire for other people, which is something that I never really thought about as a challenge, but the more I got into it, it was like a true pain for companies that were like either hiring the wrong people or, as technology advances, roles begin to be a lot more or continue to be every time more specialized. So you need like a digital marketer, but you need them to be to have knowledge of fintech and technology and product. It can be just like do a form and expect leads to come. So when companies have these like really challenging roles that they can't seem to be able to find, or even if they're running like a confidential search because it's a C-level or manager position, and that's when we come in, and we provide them with qualified candidates in 72 hours. We have our proprietary technology that scores profiles depending on like if it's the right fit for this company or not, and that enables us to like really shorten the time from a search to hire. And it's something that our clients really appreciate from our company. So
sweet, that's awesome. So pretty much, helping them find the right candidates for their jobs and making the process more seamless and easier. That's awesome.
Exactly. Of course, with a huge focus on like the candidate experience as well. Like we know right now that it is a tough market. We're getting like so many messages and inbound leads, like candidates want to use every channel and every opportunity to get in contact with a hiring manager. So having that in mind, it's really like a special time to be in this industry.
Yeah, definitely. From what you've already been highlighting, absolutely. So what would you say are your top client acquisition channels? Is it mainly digital marketing, inbound SEO content, outbound, or is it a mix of everything?
I would love to say that it's inbound and it is all my doing, but really today most of our clients come through referrals, and they have been working with or they have been working with us for a really long time. We have a really robust outbound strategy that another team does that, and we've only started doing inbound in December. That is when I started in this company. We're in June right now, so only 7 months of inbound and really paying attention to the channels. So it has been a challenge it is the first time that I have to do like from scratch, but not because the company started from scratch, which is that I have done in the past, but the company has been working and has been profitable for 9 years without any marketing. So, they set the bar really high. So what marketing can add to the business. So I've been setting up the inbound channels, doing ads for the first time. And the greatest challenge that I found while doing the inbound strategy is that we sort of have like a B2B2C model in which we accommodate candidates with our clients that are companies. So we have been receiving a lot of mixed traffic. So a lot of candidates try to get themselves through the door via inbound channels, and a lot of the keywords that our clients use to search us, for example, in search engines in Google, they are the same keywords that people use to find jobs. So the main challenge that we've had is like, how do we differentiate, and how do I stop these people from, like, on one hand, like, of course it's painful for me that I have to like go through these leads that aren't qualified, but also I imagine it has to be painful for them because they fill out these forms and they spend all of this time, and at the end of the day, the person who's receiving their message is the marketing person. It's not even the hiring manager or the recruiters. So that really breaks my heart. So how can I make this a better experience for both candidates and of course for ourselves, so that we can get the qualified leads that we need?
Definitely. I really love how you put yourself in the mindset of the person who's applying, but also in the mindset of the person, doing the work on the back end, to where you're able to see, okay, how can I be able to make this process more seamless? How can I make their life easier where both parties are happy, where the candidate who's applying gets a response and they're able to go through the process, and then the person on the end who's receiving the information about the applicant can be able to determine whether or not it fits for the needs of their company. So I really love how you are able to put yourself in both shoes to be able to figure out how to make this process more seamless. So I think that's great.
Oh, thank you.
Definitely. Now,
it's something that very embedded in the company culture, like to be very mindful of the candidate. It is a delicate time for everyone, and everyone is putting a lot of time and effort into this process. So it really comes with the business that we have to be mindful of their time and appreciative of that, because they are most likely taking time of their job to interview for another job, because that's another thing we do. We mainly interview people that are already in a position. We hunt for the positions that we need. It is very unlikely that these very specialized roles apply for a position. Those kind of people don't usually apply for jobs. They are hunted. So, a pointer for everyone listening: have your LinkedIn very updated, because that's how headhunters find you.
Exactly. You heard it here, guys. Listen to Inez. Have your LinkedIn updated. All right. Perfect.
Very useful.
Exactly. So now we're going to switch gears and we're going to talk about you as a leader. So you've already mentioned briefly what you do, but what does your work look like for you on a daily basis?
Oh, that's an interesting question. I don't think I've had 2 days alike since I started working at Synapse. I think every day is like so different, and I love that about my job. Like, I was thinking last night that it's been a really long time since I donated blood, because when no one reminds you, it's something that it costs you nothing, but you have to be reminded that you have to do it. And I was like, why don't I do a company-wide campaign so that we encourage everyone in the company to go donate blood? So I just Googled it, and it turns out that a worldwide donation day or something like that, I don't know the exact name, but it's a week away from now. And I was like, wow, that was like a huge coincidence. And now I'm like really fast planning a campaign so that we can all go to donate blood on the same day. And we're a fully distributed team, so we're talking like 10 different countries. And that is something that happened like overnight. And, we presented it to leadership. They were like, that's a fantastic idea. Let's go for it. So, what I thought my day today was going to be yesterday morning has nothing to do with what it ended up being today. And I really appreciate, I love that about my job right now. When I was working in larger marketing teams, it was like, I am, I don't know, like the copywriter or the person who does the product marketing. I do the decks or I do the messaging for this. And it's great also because you get to focus, like, to do one thing really well. But when you're in a manager position, you have to be like this really flexible person and like adapt. I had this plan for this day, but then it turns out that this is more urgent. And I have to decide what is more important, if the urgent or the thing that I had already planned. So a lot of prioritizing, that's my day to day. We employ a lot of agencies. I am a true believer in agencies. I think that agencies are really good at what they do, especially specialized agencies. I'm skeptical about companies that say like, we do everything and we do everything right, we have a team for everything, because usually I've been there and it's always like the same marketer doing everything, and it's like a copywriter, designer. That poor person is doing everything all at once, and they don't have a lot of time to employ in anything particularly. So I really like when agencies like dedicate themselves to one thing. So we have like an agency for content, we have an agency for design, we have an agency for performance. And it's a lot of coordination. I manage a lot of brands, because even though I work at one company, something really interesting that this is also the first time that I've been doing is that we are really paying a lot of attention to the personal brand of the leadership team. So I've been kind of monitoring their analytics too, and presenting them with content. And it's like, for example, the Vision Pro from Apple was released this week. So we're like, okay, who gets this? Who's going to be the one of the company who's going to make a post about this or a video about this? And we are really treating it as a team. I am a true believer that being consistent with content is extremely hard. I've been there, I have a podcast of my own, and to do everything yourself, it is so hard. It's like, you can edit, you can do the videos, you can do the reels, you can do the scheduling, you can do the interview, but just because you can't do everything doesn't mean that you should. So a big part of my role as a head of marketing right now is to be that support or that like coordinator that ensures that all of the brands of the company are being consistent and are being like mindful of what their objectives are. I'm sorry, I spoke like for 15 minutes straight.
No, don't worry about it. It's an interview. Like, this is what it's about. We want to hear more about, what you do and how you work as a leader. And one of the things I really love is where, you have explained that you're able to be so adaptable and flexible, and that you appreciate how your day-to-day looks very differently. And I think that's a key thing in any like manager, especially where if they can be able to adapt to the needs and priorities of their day, they're going to succeed in their role, and they're going to be able to do, amazing things. Like, for example, how you explain how you pull this campaign together within a day. That's an example of being flexible and being, able to adapt to the needs and what you need to do in your company. So I think that's wonderful. We're coming to the end of our interview, and I'm going to start with some rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
Okay. So I have to answer like really fast, like a ping pong?
Not like a pinpoint, but you just say, just elaborate, like very brief, nothing too crazy.
Okay.
So first one, if there were no boundaries in technology, what would be the one thing that you would want to have fixed in your role as a marketer today?
That's a great question. I think that we are gearing towards that, but I really hate how manual ads ads online still are. Like, you have to pick like the C level, V level, all the segmentation. I still think that is so manual for a job that it's usually like, you should be able to say like, this is my company, this has been my last clients, and some kind of tech should be able to say like, okay, I'm going to show this message to these people and it will be great.
Yeah, definitely. Where it keeps it to the point. Doesn't have to make it more complicated, but very seamless, where for this audience, I'm going to say this. For this target audience, we're going to say this.
And you have to find like all of the industries, and you are like, okay, the tech industry, and the name that LinkedIn has is like internet and services. And then you're like, what is internet and services? This is so old fashioned. Like, no one identifies as internet and services. Like, I feel like that is so old fashioned that you have to go one by one with the checkboxes and go like, these are the industries that I want to segment to. I think that's very old fashioned. I think that should be a lot easier.
Yeah, it should, definitely. Okay. All right. And my next one is, what is the last book that you've read?
Oh, I am currently reading a lot of Henry Miller from the 1800s. Henry James. It has nothing to do with business. I was burned out a couple of years ago, and I decided that I wasn't going to read anything else that had to do with work. I decided that reading was going to be purely for pleasure. Yes. So I only read like short stories, novels, fiction, and I try to keep it at that. And it has worked wonders for me. So I highly recommend it.
Definitely. I do that as well, where right now any books I'm reading is purely for pleasure, purely for just relaxing and disconnecting. So I'm on the same page as you.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we're at the end of our interview, and I also want to give you the last word, and I want to thank you for joining us on the podcast today. If someone forgets about everything we've talked about today, what is one thing you want them to remember about your company overall?
About my company is that, that's good. I think that it's maybe the word reliable. Like, I always think like, I know every person here, and I know that every company says that, oh, you can trust in us, and we want the trust of our customers. But having known the team, they're such like warm people that truly care about the candidate. And our client is really the hiring manager and the company, and of course we really care about them. But they're also so gentle towards the candidate, even though like they're not the ones that are bringing in the money. So I trust them with my life, both to like hire someone, and I would recommend my friends to go through the process with them also, because they are such warm hand holding people. I love them.
That's awesome. All right. Well, thank you again so much. And for all of our listeners out there, check us out next week on Pathmonk Presents.